The air was thick with smoke and the acrid scent of burning metal. Crumpled fragments of once mighty ships littered the scarred landscape, their twisted hulks now silent testaments to the ferocity of the battle that had raged over Terra Nova. Night was falling, casting long, eerie shadows over the devastation, but the war's aftermath was illuminated by the flickering glow of fires still burning in the wreckage. Liam Anderson moved swiftly through the debris, his steps sure and purposeful despite the chaotic terrain. He was a tall, rugged man in his mid-30s, with a commanding presence that had earned him the respect of his fellow resistance fighters. His green eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the surroundings for any sign of survivors or enemy soldiers. The Arkan Empire's invasion had been sudden and brutal, but the human resistance had managed to fight back with unexpected tenacity, leading to a disastrous crash of one of the Arkan ships. He paused, hearing a faint sound beneath the groans of settling metal and the crackle of flames. It was a soft, almost imperceptible moan, a sound that spoke of pain and vulnerability. Cautiously, Liam made his way towards the source, his weapon at the ready. Hidden amidst the wreckage, partially buried under a heavy beam, lay an Arkan soldier. Her breathing was labored, each exhale a struggle. Liam's eyes widened in surprise as he took in her appearance. Her silver hair, matted with blood, contrasted starkly against the dark, iridescent scales that adorned her skin, a mark of her Arkan heritage. Her uniform, once pristine, was now torn and scorched, revealing deep wounds that oozed dark blue blood. For a moment, Liam hesitated. The Arkan had brought war to his home, had killed so many of his people. But as he looked at the woman before him, a pang of empathy pierced his hardened heart. She was a soldier, just like him, caught in the crossfire of a war she might not have wanted. "Damn it," he muttered under his breath, slinging his rifle over his shoulder. With a determined grunt, he pushed the beam aside, freeing her from its crushing weight. She moaned again, her eyes fluttering open to reveal pupils like slits of black on a backdrop of silver. "Can you hear me?" Liam asked, his voice firm but not unkind. "I'm going to help you." Her gaze focused on him, and for a moment, pure terror flashed across her face. She tried to push herself away, but her strength failed her, and she slumped back with a groan of pain. "Stay still," Liam ordered. "You're hurt pretty bad." He worked quickly, assessing her injuries with the practiced eye of someone who had seen far too many battlefield wounds. He ripped a strip of fabric from his own shirt and bound a particularly nasty gash on her leg, using a makeshift tourniquet to stem the bleeding. Her breathing steadied slightly, though her eyes never left his face, filled with a mixture of fear and confusion. Why?" she managed to whisper, her voice tinged with the melodic accent of the Arkan. "You're my enemy," Liam said simply, "but I'm not leaving you here to die." With a great deal of effort, he lifted her into his arms. She was surprisingly light, her alien physiology making her weight manageable despite her height. He navigated the treacherous terrain with care, every step taking him further from the safety of his own lines and deeper into what could easily become hostile territory if any Arkan patrols were still nearby. After what felt like an eternity, Liam reached a hidden entrance concealed by overgrown foliage. He nudged it open with his foot, revealing a narrow passage that led underground to the Resistance's hidden camp. The entrance closed behind them with a soft thud, sealing them away from the dangers outside. The camp was a stark contrast to the desolation above. Makeshift but orderly, it bustled with activity. Men and women in tattered uniforms moved with purpose, tending to the wounded, repairing equipment, and preparing for the next inevitable skirmish. Eyes widened and whispers followed Liam as he carried the alien woman through the camp. "She's one of them." What is he thinking? Has he lost his mind? Ignoring the murmurs, Liam headed straight for the infirmary. Inside, Dr. Sarah Mitchell looked up from her work, her brow furrowing as she saw Liam's burden. "Liam, what the hell?" she started, but he cut her off. "No time to argue, Sarah. She needs help, and I wasn't about to leave her out there to die." "Doctor." Mitchell's eyes softened slightly as she took in the injured Arkan. "Get her on the table," she instructed, clearing space amidst the chaotic clutter of medical supplies. "We'll do what we can." Gently, Liam laid the woman down, stepping back to let Sarah work. He watched as the doctor's skilled hands moved with precision, cleaning wounds and administering injections of alien antidotes they had managed to procure in previous skirmishes. The woman's breathing steadied further, her body relaxing as the pain subsided. Liam stayed close, his eyes never leaving the Archon's face. He wondered who she was, what had led her to fight in this war, and what she thought of him now. She was his enemy, yet in this moment, she was just another life he had saved. Hours passed, and finally Sarah straightened up, wiping her brow. "She's stable for now," she said, "but she'll need rest and more treatment. You did a good thing, Liam." He nodded, though uncertainty nodded him. "Let's hope it stays that way," he replied, his gaze fixed on the unconscious woman. "What's her name?" Sarah shook her head. "No idea. We'll have to wait until she wakes up." Liam sighed, running a hand through his tousled hair. "I'll stay with her," he decided. "She shouldn't wake up alone in an unfamiliar place." Sarah placed a hand on his arm, a rare gesture of comfort. "You're doing the right thing, Liam. Maybe this is a step towards something better." He didn't reply, but her words lingered in his mind as he pulled up a chair beside the cot. The camp's noises faded into the background as he watched over the sleeping Archon. Her face, now peaceful in slumber, was a stark reminder of the enemy he had fought so fiercely against. Yet here they were, two soldiers on opposite sides of a bloody conflict, brought together by a twist of fate. As the night deepened, Liam's thoughts drifted to the future. The war with the Archon Empire was far from over, and the road ahead was fraught with danger. But for now, in this small, hidden corner of Terra Nova, a spark of hope flickered, a hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for something more than endless conflict. And so, the night passed with Liam keeping vigil over the enemy he had chosen to save, unaware of how profoundly this act of mercy would shape the course of their lives and the fate of their worlds. Morning broke over Terra Nova, its light filtering through the narrow ventilation shafts that provided the hidden camp with much-needed air. In the infirmary, the first rays of sunlight touched the sleeping face of the Archon woman, illuminating her features with a gentle, almost ethereal glow. Liam Anderson, who had kept vigil through the night, rubbed his eyes wearily as he watched over her. His mind was a storm of questions and doubts, each one more pressing than the last. The camp stirred to life with the dawn, a hum of activity filling the underground refuge. Liam knew he had to address his people, to explain his actions and prepare them for the potential consequences of harboring an enemy. But first he needed to be sure the woman would survive. Doctor. Sarah Mitchell entered the infirmary, carrying a tray of medical supplies. She offered Liam a tired smile. "You look like you could use some sleep." He shook his head. "I'll rest later." "How's she doing?" Sarah checked the woman's vitals, nodding with satisfaction. "She's stable. Whatever you did out there, it bought her time. She's a tough one, that's for sure." The Archon stirred, her eyelids fluttering open. Silver eyes, still hazy with pain and confusion, met Liam's gaze. She tried to sit up, but a sharp intake of breath and a wince of pain stopped her. "Easy there," Liam said, gently pressing her back down. "You're safe here." She looked around, her expression a mix of fear and defiance. Where am I?" "You're in a human resistance camp," he replied. "I'm Liam Anderson, and this is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. You're injured, but we're helping you." Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" Liam sighed. "Because leaving you to die out there didn't seem right. We're not monsters." She seemed to process this, her gaze flickering between Liam and Sarah. Finally, she spoke. "My name is Ziana, Commander Ziana of the Archon Empire." Liam nodded. "Well, Ziana, you're safe for now. We'll take care of you." The tension in the room was palpable, but there was also a fragile sense of understanding. Sarah finished her examination and gave Liam a reassuring nod. "She'll need rest and more treatment, but she's out of immediate danger." "Thank you, Sarah," Liam said, watching as she left the room. He turned back to Ziana. "You'll be all right, just focus on getting better." Ziana's eyes softened slightly, and she gave a small nod. "Thank you, Liam. I didn't expect kindness from a human." Liam managed a faint smile. "War brings out the worst in us, but it doesn't mean we have to lose our humanity." As the days passed, Ziana's condition improved under Sarah's care. Liam visited her often, bringing food and water, engaging her in conversation to stave off the boredom and fear that threatened to overwhelm her. Slowly, the initial tension between them began to thaw. In the camp, however, the presence of an Arkan commander caused unease. Whispers and suspicious glances followed Liam wherever he went. He knew he had to address the growing concern among his people. One evening, he called a meeting in the main hall, a large underground chamber reinforced with salvaged metal and wood. The resistance fighters gathered, their faces a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Liam stood at the front, his posture confident despite the uncertainty gnawing at him. "I know you're all wondering why I brought an enemy into our camp," he began, his voice steady. "Commander Ziana was wounded and left for dead. I couldn't just abandon her. She's a soldier, like us, caught in a war she didn't start. Helping her was the right thing to do." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. One man, a burly fighter named Marcus, stepped forward. "But she's one of them. How can we trust her?" Liam met his gaze. "I understand your concerns, but leaving her to die wouldn't make us any better than the people we're fighting. We're better than that. And maybe, just maybe, this act of mercy will show them that we're not their enemy." A woman named Elena, her face lined with worry, spoke up. "What if they come looking for her? We could be putting the whole camp at risk." Liam nodded. "It's a risk, I won't deny that. But we've faced risks before. We've survived against the odds because we're strong and we stand together. We can protect ourselves and we can protect her." There was a pause, the tension thick in the air. Then, slowly, heads began to nod. The murmurs quieted, replaced by a grudging acceptance. Marcus sighed. "All right, Liam, we trust you, but if she does anything to threaten us, well, she won't," Liam assured him. "And if she does, I'll take full responsibility." The meeting broke up, and as the crowd dispersed, Elena approached Liam. "You're doing the right thing," she said softly. "It's just hard to see it right now." Liam gave her a grateful smile. "Thank you, Elena. I know it's not easy, but we'll get through this together." Back in the infirmary, Ziana's recovery continued. She was able to sit up now, and though she still required help with many tasks, her strength was returning. Liam spent more time with her, their conversations growing more personal. One evening, as the camp settled into a quiet lull, Ziana looked at Liam with a thoughtful expression. "Why did you save me, really?" Liam leaned back in his chair, considering his words carefully. "I guess I saw someone who needed help, someone who wasn't just an enemy soldier but a person. And I thought, maybe if we started seeing each other as people, this war might start to make less sense." Ziana's eyes softened. "You're different from the others I've encountered. More compassionate." Liam shrugged. "I've seen enough death and destruction. If there's a chance to do something good, to make a difference, I'll take it." She smiled faintly. "Maybe there's hope for our worlds yet." As days turned into weeks, Ziana became a part of the camp's routine. She helped where she could, sharing her knowledge of Arkan technology to improve the camp's defenses and medical equipment. Her presence, once a source of tension, began to foster a sense of cautious optimism. One night, Liam found Ziana sitting outside the infirmary, gazing up at the stars visible through a small opening in the rock ceiling. He joined her, the silence between them comfortable and familiar. "Do you miss your home?" Liam asked after a while. Ziana nodded. "I do. But this place, it's starting to feel like home too. Strange, isn't it?" "Not so strange," Liam replied. "Home is where you find people who care about you." She turned to him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Thank you, Liam, for everything." He smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "You're welcome, Ziana. I'm glad you're here." The camp settled into a new rhythm, with Ziana becoming an integral part of their efforts. Trust, once a fragile thing, began to solidify. Yet the looming threat of the Arkan Empire was never far from their minds. They knew that Ziana's people would come for her eventually, and when they did, they would have to be ready. But for now, in the hidden camp beneath the scarred surface of Terra Nova, an unlikely bond had formed, a bond that held the promise of a different future, one where humans and Arkan might stand together, not as enemies, but as allies. And so, as the nights grew longer and the shadows deeper, Liam and Ziana found solace in each other's company, their conversations weaving a tapestry of hope amidst the darkness of war. Together they faced the uncertain future, their bond a beacon of light guiding them through the storm. The tranquility of the hidden camp was shattered by the distant rumble of explosions. The ground trembled, sending ripples through the makeshift structures and causing dust to fall from the ceiling. Liam Anderson's eyes snapped open, and he bolted upright in his cot, instantly alert. The muffled sounds of shouting and the unmistakable whine of energy weapons pierced the air. Liam grabbed his rifle and sprinted out of his quarters, his heart pounding. As he reached the main tunnel, he saw resistance fighters rushing to their positions, their faces etched with determination and fear. The camp's alarms blared, adding to the chaos. He caught sight of Marcus, who was already directing fighters to strategic points. "What's the situation?" Liam shouted over the noise. Marcus turned, his expression grim. "Arkan kill team. They've found us." Liam's stomach dropped. He had known this day would come, but not so soon. "Get everyone ready. We can't let them breach the inner camp." He sprinted towards the infirmary, his mind racing. Ziana. She was still recovering, and if the Arkan were here for her. He pushed the thought away, focusing on the immediate task. He burst into the infirmary to find Dr. Sarah Mitchell already preparing to move the wounded. "Sarah, we need to get Ziana out of here," he said urgently. Sarah nodded, her face pale but resolute. "I've got her stabilized enough to move. Let's go." Ziana, propped up on a cot, looked at Liam with wide eyes. "What's happening?" "Your people found us," Liam replied, helping her to her feet. "We need to get you to safety." She winced as she stood, but her determination was evident. "I can fight." Liam shook his head. "Not in your condition. Just stay close to me." As they made their way through the tunnels, the sounds of battle grew louder. The clash of metal and the sharp cracks of gunfire echoed around them. Liam's mind was a whirlwind of strategies and contingencies. They had prepared for this, but preparation and reality were two different things. They reached a junction where resistance fighters were setting up a defensive line. Elena, her face streaked with dirt and sweat, looked up as they approached. "Liam, we're holding them off, but they're pushing hard." Liam nodded. "Keep them at bay as long as you can. We need to buy time to evacuate the injured and the non-combatants." He turned to Ziana. "Stay behind the line. If things go south, get to the secondary tunnels and keep moving." Ziana's eyes flashed with anger and frustration. "I'm not running away." "You're not running. You're surviving," Liam said firmly. "We need you alive, Ziana." Before she could protest further, a series of explosions rocked the tunnel. The ceiling cracked, sending chunks of rock and debris raining down. The air filled with dust, making it hard to see or breathe. Liam pushed Ziana to the ground, covering her with his body as the debris fell around them. When the dust began to settle, he helped her to her feet, coughing and wiping his eyes. Through the haze, Liam saw the silhouette of Arkan soldiers advancing, their energy weapons blazing. The resistance fighters returned fire, but they were being pushed back. The Arkan soldiers were relentless, their coordinated attack leaving little room for countermeasures. Liam raised his rifle and joined the fight, his shots precise and deadly. Ziana, despite her injuries, picked up a fallen weapon and started firing as well. Her determination was palpable, her warrior spirit refusing to be quelled. In the chaos, Liam noticed a familiar figure leading the Arkan troops, Lieutenant Rena, Ziana's trusted lieutenant. Her eyes locked onto Ziana, and a look of betrayal and fury twisted her features. Ziana Rena's voice cut through the din. "You traitor!" Ziana's face hardened. "Rena, stop this. We don't have to fight." Rena's response was a volley of energy blasts that forced Liam and Ziana to dive for cover. The battle raged on, the tunnel becoming a war zone of flashing lights and deafening noise. As the resistance fighters began to fall back, Liam knew they couldn't hold out much longer. He needed a plan, and fast. His eyes scanned the area, searching for anything that could give them an advantage. Then he saw a series of support beams running along the ceiling. If they could bring down the tunnel, they could block the Arkan's advance and buy time for an escape. But it was risky. One wrong move and they could all be buried alive. "Marcus," Liam shouted, catching his second-in-command's attention. "We need to bring down the tunnel." Marcus looked up, understanding dawning in his eyes. He nodded and started barking orders to the remaining fighters. Liam turned to Ziana. "We're going to collapse the tunnel. We need to move, now." Ziana hesitated, glancing back at Rena and the advancing Arkan troops. Liam, there has to be another way. There isn't, Liam said, his voice leaving no room for argument. We need to survive this, Ziana. Trust me. Reluctantly, she nodded, and they began to retreat towards the secondary tunnels. Marcus and a few others stayed behind, setting charges on the support beams. The air was thick with tension, every second feeling like an eternity. Finally, the charges were set, and Marcus gave the signal. The fighters fell back, and Liam watched as Marcus detonated the charges. The explosions were deafening, the ground shaking violently as the tunnel began to collapse. Rena and her troops were caught off guard, the falling debris and dust creating chaos in their ranks. The tunnel caved in, creating a barrier of rubble between the resistance fighters and the Arkan soldiers. The sounds of the battle faded, replaced by the eerie silence of settling debris. Liam, Ziana, and the remaining fighters moved quickly through the secondary tunnels, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. They reached a secure area where the rest of the camp had gathered, the injured and non-combatants huddled together, their faces pale with fear. Liam took a moment to catch his breath, his mind racing with the events that had just unfolded. They had survived, but at what cost? The camp was compromised, and the Arkan would undoubtedly regroup and attack again. Ziana stood beside him, her expression a mix of relief and sorrow. "Thank you, Liam," she said softly. "You saved us." Liam shook his head. "We're not out of the woods yet. We need to find a new place to hide, regroup, and plan our next move." Ziana's eyes hardened with resolve. "I'll help you. We'll fight together." Liam nodded, a sense of determination settling over him. They had faced the enemy and survived, and now they had to prepare for the battles to come. Together, they would find a way to endure, to resist, and to hope for a future where their peoples could coexist in peace. As the camp settled into its new location, Liam and Ziana found themselves working side by side, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. The challenges ahead were daunting, but they faced them with unwavering resolve, knowing that their unlikely alliance was the key to a brighter future. In the quiet moments between battles, Liam and Ziana talked about their lives, their hopes, and their dreams. They shared stories of their pasts, finding common ground in their experiences and aspirations. Despite the war that raged around them, they found solace in each other, their connection a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. And so, as the resistance fighters prepared for the next assault, Liam and Ziana stood together, ready to face whatever came their way. Their bond, forged in the fires of battle and tempered by trust, would be their greatest weapon in the fight for peace and survival. The battle for Terra Nova was far from over, but in that hidden camp, beneath the scarred surface of the planet, an unlikely alliance was born, a bond that held the promise of a different future, one where enemies could become allies and hope could triumph over despair. And as Liam and Ziana looked to the stars, they knew that their journey had only just begun. The forest lay shrouded in darkness, its shadows deep and foreboding. The air was thick with the scent of pine and earth, a stark contrast to the acrid smoke that lingered over the ruined communications outpost. Liam Anderson led his group through the dense underbrush, every sense alert to the dangers that lurked in the wilderness. The destruction of the rendezvous point had been a harsh blow, but Liam refused to let despair take root. He knew their comrades would have scattered, seeking refuge in the surrounding forest. Finding them was their immediate priority. As they moved, Liam couldn't help but glance at Ziana, whose presence had become a source of both strength and solace. Her knowledge of Arkan tactics and technology had been invaluable, and her determination mirrored his own. The night stretched on, the forest alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures. The group moved silently, their steps muffled by the thick layer of fallen leaves. Liam's mind raced, formulating plans and contingencies. They had to stay one step ahead of the Arkan patrols, and that required constant vigilance and adaptability. Hours passed, and as the first light of dawn began to filter through the trees, they came upon a small clearing. Liam signaled for a halt, and the group gathered in a tight circle, their faces drawn with fatigue. "We'll rest here for a bit," Liam said, his voice low but firm. "We need to stay sharp." As the others settled, Ziana approached him, her expression concerned. "Liam, we can't keep running forever. We need to find a way to strike back, to give our people hope." He nodded, knowing she was right. "We will. But first, we need to regroup and assess our options. We're stronger together." Ziana's eyes softened, and she placed a hand on his arm. "I trust you, Liam. We all do." Her words bolstered his resolve, and he gave her a grateful smile. "Thank you, Ziana. We'll get through this." Their respite was short-lived. As the sun climbed higher, they resumed their journey, heading east as Ziana had suggested. The forest grew denser, the terrain more challenging. They navigated rocky outcrops and tangled underbrush, each step bringing them closer to their goal. By midday, they reached the edge of a ravine, its steep walls lined with jagged rocks and thick vegetation. Liam peered over the edge, his keen eyes scanning the depths below. "We'll have to climb down," he said, turning to the group. "It'll be tough, but it's the safest way." They began the descent, using ropes and makeshift harnesses to navigate the treacherous terrain. The ravine was narrow, its walls rising high on either side, creating a sense of claustrophobia. The air was cooler here, and the sounds of the forest above were muffled, adding to the eerie atmosphere. As they reached the bottom, Liam felt a sense of unease. The ravine was a natural trap, and any misstep could be disastrous. He signaled for the group to move quietly, their senses on high alert. They followed the ravine for several miles, its path winding through the forest like a hidden artery. The journey was arduous, and fatigue weighed heavily on their shoulders. But they pressed on, driven by the hope of finding their comrades and continuing their fight. As dusk approached, they came upon a narrow passage that led out of the ravine. Liam climbed up first, scanning the area before signaling for the others to follow. They emerged into a dense thicket, the trees towering above them like ancient sentinels. Liam motioned for the group to gather, his voice a whisper. "We'll camp here for the night. We need to rest and regroup." They set up a makeshift camp, the flickering light of a small fire providing a semblance of warmth and comfort. The forest around them was alive with the sounds of night, but the firelight created a small bubble of security in the vast wilderness. As they ate their meager rations, Liam and Ziana discussed their next move. "We need to find a way to communicate with the others," Ziana said, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "If we can get a signal out, we can coordinate our efforts." Liam nodded. "Agreed. We'll scout the area at first light, see if we can find a way to boost our signal." The night was long, and sleep came fitfully to the exhausted group. Liam took first watch, his senses attuned to the slightest sound. As he sat by the fire, his thoughts drifted to the future one where humans and Arkan could coexist in peace. It was a distant dream, but one worth fighting for. Morning brought a chill to the air, and the group woke to find the forest shrouded in mist. They ate quickly, packing up their camp with practiced efficiency. Liam and Ziana led the way, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. They moved cautiously, their progress slow but steady. The forest was a maze of trees and underbrush, each turn revealing new challenges. As they reached a higher elevation, the mist began to clear, offering a clearer view of the terrain ahead. Liam spotted a rocky outcrop that rose above the tree line, its summit providing an ideal vantage point. He pointed towards it. "We'll head up there. It should give us a better view of the area." The climb was steep, but they made their way up with determination. As they reached the summit, the forest spread out before them like a vast, green ocean. Liam scanned the horizon, his eyes narrowing as he spotted movement in the distance. "There," he said, pointing towards a plume of smoke rising above the trees. "That could be one of our groups." Ziana nodded. "It's worth checking out. But we need to be careful. It could also be a trap." They descended the outcrop and headed towards the smoke, moving with caution. As they approached, the smell of burning wood grew stronger, mingling with the fresh scent of the forest. They slowed their pace, their senses on high alert. Through the trees, they saw the remains of a small camp. Tents lay in ruins and the ground was scorched, the aftermath of a recent attack. Liam's heart sank as he recognized the bodies of resistance fighters scattered among the wreckage. "Damn it," he muttered, his fists clenching in anger. "We're too late." Ziana knelt beside one of the bodies, her expression somber. "They fought hard. But the Arkan are relentless." Liam nodded, his resolve hardening. "We need to find the survivors, if there are any." They searched the area, their hearts heavy with grief. As they moved through the wreckage, a faint sound reached their ears, a soft, desperate whisper. Liam followed the sound, leading them to a small hollow, where a young woman lay hidden, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. Liam knelt beside her, his voice gentle. "It's okay. We're friends." The woman looked at him, tears streaming down her cheeks. They came out of nowhere. We tried to fight, but... Liam nodded, offering her a reassuring smile. "You're safe now. Can you tell us what happened?" She took a shuddering breath, her voice trembling. "We were setting up camp when they attacked. They overwhelmed us. Some of us managed to escape, but I don't know where they went." Liam glanced at Ziana, who nodded in understanding. "We need to find them," she said softly. "They could still be in danger." The woman gave them directions to where the survivors might have fled, and they set off, their pace quickening. The forest seemed to close in around them, the shadows deepening as the day wore on. As they followed the trail, Liam couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end, and he tightened his grip on his rifle. Ziana noticed his unease and matched his pace, her eyes scanning the surroundings. They reached a clearing where the ground was disturbed, signs of a struggle evident in the trampled vegetation. Liam's heart pounded in his chest as he saw the bodies of more resistance fighters, their faces contorted in death. But there, among the fallen, was a small group of survivors, huddled together and armed with makeshift weapons. They looked up as Liam and Ziana approached, their expressions wary but hopeful. Liam raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "We're friends. We're here to help." One of the survivors, a man with a bandaged arm, stepped forward. "We thought we were the only ones left." Liam shook his head. "There are more of us. We need to regroup and plan our next move." The man nodded, his relief palpable. "Thank you. We didn't know how much longer we could hold out." As they gathered the survivors and prepared to move, Liam felt a sense of renewed purpose. They had faced unimaginable loss, but they were still standing, still fighting, and as long as they had each other, they had hope. The journey through the forest was long and arduous, but the group moved with determination. They navigated treacherous terrain, crossed rivers, and scaled rocky hills, each step bringing them closer to their goal. As they traveled, Liam and Ziana continued to forge their bond. They shared stories of their pasts, their dreams, and their fears. The barriers between them, once so formidable, had crumbled, replaced by a deep sense of trust and understanding. One evening, as they rested by a small stream, Ziana looked at Liam, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "Liam, do you think we can really find peace, after everything that's happened?" He took a deep breath, his gaze thoughtful. "I don't know, but I do know that we have to try. For our people, for the future. We owe it to them to fight for something better." She nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "You're right, we can't give up." The next morning, they reached the rendezvous point, a secluded valley surrounded by towering cliffs. It was a natural fortress, providing both cover and a strategic vantage point. As they approached, they saw the familiar faces of their comrades, relief washing over them like a tide. Marcus and Elena were there, along with others who had managed to escape the initial assault. The reunion was bittersweet, filled with both joy and sorrow for those they had lost. Liam addressed the group, his voice steady and determined. "We've been through hell, but we're still here. We need to regroup, rebuild, and strike back. The Arcan won't stop, so neither can we." The fighters nodded, their resolve mirrored in their expressions. They began to set up camp, their movements purposeful and efficient. There was a sense of unity, a shared determination to fight for their survival and their future. As night fell, Liam and Ziana stood together on a rocky outcrop, looking out over the valley. The stars shone brightly above, a reminder of the vast universe and the possibilities it held. "We'll find a way," Liam said softly, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Together." Ziana nodded, her hand finding his. "Together." And so, in the heart of the wilderness, a new chapter began. Liam and Ziana, united by their shared struggle and their hope for a better future, faced the challenges ahead with unwavering resolve. The hunt was far from over, but they were ready, their bond a beacon of light in the darkness. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, they knew their journey was just beginning. The road ahead was fraught with danger, but they would face it together, their hearts and minds united in the fight for peace and survival. The secluded valley served as a temporary haven for the resistance fighters. Surrounded by towering cliffs and dense forest, it provided a strategic advantage and a sense of security. But Liam Anderson knew their respite was temporary. The Arkan Empire was relentless, and their only hope lay in uniting the scattered resistance forces and finding a way to negotiate peace. The days passed in a blur of activity as the survivors fortified their new camp, scouted the area for resources, and tended to the wounded. Liam and Ziana worked tirelessly, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Their shared vision of a peaceful future fueled their determination, but they knew the road ahead was fraught with challenges. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the valley, Liam called a meeting of the key leaders. They gathered around a large table in the central tent, their faces lit by the flickering light of lanterns. Liam began, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "We've survived the initial onslaught, but we can't keep running. We need to find a way to negotiate peace with the Arkan High Command." Marcus, his expression skeptical, leaned forward. "And how do you propose we do that? The Arkan don't seem interested in peace." Ziana spoke up, her tone resolute. "There are factions within the Arkan Empire that oppose the war. If we can reach them, we might be able to broker a truce. I have connections, people who might listen." But Elena, always pragmatic, nodded thoughtfully. "It's a long shot, but it's better than waiting for them to wipe us out. How do we get in touch with these factions?" Liam glanced at Ziana, then addressed the group. "We'll need to infiltrate the Arkan Command Center. It's risky, but it's our best chance. We can't do it alone. We need a diplomat, someone who can speak for us and negotiate terms." A murmur of agreement swept through the tent. Moran, a skilled diplomat with a reputation for her eloquence and tact, stepped forward. "I'll go. If there's a chance to end this war, we have to take it." Liam nodded, gratitude and respect in his eyes. "Thank you, Moran. We'll protect you and ensure you get the chance to speak." The plan began to take shape. They would split into two groups, one to create a diversion and draw the Arkan forces away, and the other to infiltrate the command center and initiate negotiations. It was a dangerous mission, but they had no other choice. The night before the mission, the camp was filled with a tense energy. Fighters checked their weapons, whispered final words to loved ones, and steeled themselves for the coming battle. Liam and Ziana found a quiet spot on a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley. Liam stared at the stars, their distant light a reminder of the vast universe beyond their struggles. "Do you think we can really do this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Ziana placed a hand on his arm, her touch warm and reassuring. "We have to try, Liam. For our people, for the future. We can't let fear stop us." He turned to her, their eyes meeting in the dim light. "Thank you, Ziana, for standing with us." She smiled, a mix of sadness and hope in her eyes. "Thank you for giving me a reason to believe in something better." As dawn approached, the camp sprang into action. The diversion team, led by Marcus, set off first, their objective to create enough chaos to draw the Arkan forces away from the command center. Liam, Ziana, Moran, and a small team of elite fighters prepared for their infiltration. The journey to the Arkan Command Center was fraught with danger. They moved through the forest with the precision of seasoned soldiers, avoiding patrols and using the terrain to their advantage. Ziana's knowledge of Arkan tactics proved invaluable, guiding them past numerous traps and checkpoints. As they neared the command center, the forest gave way to a stark, industrial landscape. The Arkan had established a formidable stronghold, its imposing walls and watchtowers a testament to their military might. Liam signaled for the team to halt, scanning the area for a way in. "There's," Ziana whispered, pointing to a maintenance entrance partially obscured by foliage. "It's a service tunnel. We can use it to get inside." They moved quickly and silently, reaching the entrance without alerting the guards. The tunnel was dark and narrow, the air heavy with the scent of machinery and oil. They navigated its twists and turns, their senses on high alert. Emerging from the tunnel, they found themselves in a maze of corridors and rooms, the heart of the Arkan Command Center. Liam led the way, his steps confident and sure. They needed to find a secure location where Moran could negotiate without interruption. Ziana guided them to a control room, its walls lined with monitors and communication equipment. It was empty, but the hum of activity outside indicated that it wouldn't stay that way for long. Moran took a deep breath, her eyes meeting Liam's. "This is it. Keep them off me while I make contact." Liam nodded, positioning his team at strategic points around the room. Ziana stayed close to Marin, ready to assist if needed. As Marin began to broadcast her message, the tension in the room was palpable. "This is Marin of the Terra Nova Resistance," she began, her voice steady and clear. "We seek an end to this war. We request a meeting with the Arkan High Command to negotiate terms of peace." Minutes passed, each one an eternity, as they waited for a response. The silence was broken by the sound of footsteps and the metallic click of weapons. Liam tensed, his finger on the trigger, as a group of Arkan soldiers entered the room. At the head of the group was Lieutenant Rena, her expression a mix of anger and betrayal. "Ziana, you traitor! You think you can waltz in here and talk peace?" Ziana stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Rena, listen to me. This war is destroying both our people. We need to find another way." Rena's eyes narrowed. "You've lost your mind. The High Command will never agree to this." Marin spoke up, her tone diplomatic. "We're not asking for surrender. We're asking for a chance to talk, to find common ground." Before Rena could respond, a new voice cut through the tension. "Enough." Admiral Vexus, a towering figure with an aura of authority, entered the room. His eyes swept over the group, his expression unreadable. "You wish to negotiate? Very well. But know this: any treachery will be met with swift and severe consequences." Marin nodded, meeting his gaze with unwavering resolve. "We understand. We only ask for a chance to speak." Vexus gestured to a nearby console. "You have 5 minutes. Convince me." Marin began her plea, outlining the devastation the war had wrought and the potential for a brighter future through cooperation. Liam watched, his heart pounding, as Marin's words flowed with eloquence and passion. Ziana stood beside Marin, adding her voice to the plea. "Admiral, I've seen the strength and resilience of the human resistance. They are not our enemies. They want what we all want: peace." Vexus listened, his expression inscrutable. As the minutes ticked by, the tension in the room grew unbearable. Finally, he spoke. "Your words are compelling, but words alone will not end this war. Actions must follow." He turned to Rena. "Stand down. Let them leave unharmed." Rena's eyes widened in shock. "Admiral." "That's an order," Vexus said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Rena hesitated, then nodded, lowering her weapon. The Arkan soldiers followed suit, the room filled with a palpable sense of relief. Vexus addressed Marin and Ziana. "We will consider your proposal, but know this: any further aggression from your people will be met with force." Marin nodded. "Thank you, Admiral. We will await your response." With that, Vexus and his soldiers left the room, leaving the resistance fighters in stunned silence. Liam let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, a sense of cautious hope filling his chest. "We did it," Marin said softly, a smile breaking through her calm demeanor. "We actually did it." Liam nodded, his gaze meeting Ziana's. "This is just the beginning. But it's a start." They made their way back through the tunnels, the weight of their mission lifting slightly with each step. As they emerged into the forest, the night sky spread out above them, filled with stars. Liam looked at Ziana, his heart full of gratitude and admiration. "Thank you, Ziana, for everything." She smiled, her eyes shining with hope. "Thank you, Liam, for believing in a better future." They returned to the camp, where their comrades awaited with bated breath. The news of the successful negotiations spread like wildfire, filling the valley with a renewed sense of purpose and hope. In the days that followed, the resistance fighters continued to prepare for the uncertain future. They fortified their defenses, trained tirelessly, and remained vigilant. But now, they had something they hadn't had in a long time: a glimmer of hope. Liam and Ziana stood together on the rocky outcrop, looking out over the valley. The stars above seemed brighter, the future less daunting. They knew the road ahead was still fraught with challenges, but they faced it with unwavering resolve. "We'll find a way," Liam said softly, his hand finding hers. Ziana squeezed his hand, her smile filled with determination. Together. And so, in the heart of the wilderness, a new chapter began. Liam and Ziana, united by their shared vision of peace and hope, faced the challenges ahead with courage and strength. The hunt for peace was far from over, but they were ready, their bond a beacon of light in the darkness. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, they knew their journey was just beginning. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but they would walk it together, their hearts and minds united in the fight for a better future. The forest was still, its early morning quiet broken only by the rustling of leaves and the occasional call of a distant bird. The resistance camp buzzed with a sense of cautious optimism following the tenuous truce negotiated by Marin. Liam Anderson moved through the camp, his thoughts focused on the next steps. Despite the hopeful breakthrough, he knew the road to peace was fraught with peril. As the sun climbed higher, casting dappled light through the canopy, a messenger arrived, breathless and wide-eyed. "Liam, urgent news," he panted, handing over a small, encrypted device. "It's from the Arkan High Command." Liam's heart quickened. Could this be the response they'd been waiting for? He hurried to the central tent, where Ziana, Marin, Marcus, and Elena were already gathered. They crowded around as Liam activated the device, a holographic image of Admiral Vexus flickering to life. "Liam Anderson, Ziana of the Arkan Empire," Vexus began, his voice authoritative. "We have considered your proposal. We agree to a meeting to discuss terms of peace. However, the location will be of our choosing, coordinates will follow, any sign of treachery, and the negotiations will be terminated." The message ended abruptly, and the room fell silent as they absorbed the news. Marin was the first to speak. "This is a good sign. It means they're taking us seriously." Ziana nodded, though her expression was wary. "We need to be careful. The Arkan are not known for their trust in negotiations." Marcus crossed his arms, his face grim. "It could be a trap. How do we know they won't ambush us the moment we arrive?" Liam looked at each of them in turn, his resolve hardening. "We don't, but we have to take the risk. This might be our only chance to end the war." Elena nodded in agreement. "We'll need a plan. A small, trusted team to go to the meeting, while the rest stay ready to act if things go south." They spent the next few hours strategizing, preparing for every possible contingency. The coordinates provided by Vexus pointed to an abandoned facility on the edge of the forest, a neutral ground that offered no clear advantage to either side. It was both a promising sign and a potential trap. As dusk approached, the chosen team, Liam, Ziana, Moran, and a few elite fighters set out for the meeting site. The journey was tense, every rustle in the underbrush and every shadow in the trees a potential threat. Ziana's presence was a steadying influence, her knowledge of Arkan tactics and terrain guiding them safely through the forest. They arrived at the facility under cover of darkness. The structure was a relic from a bygone era, its walls covered in vines and its windows shattered. It provided ample cover, but also numerous hiding spots for potential enemies. They approached cautiously, their weapons at the ready. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the scent of decay and disuse. They moved silently through the darkened corridors, following the coordinates to a large central chamber. There, they found Admiral Vexus and a contingent of Arkan soldiers waiting. Vexus stood with an air of authority, his gaze sharp and calculating. "Liam Anderson, Ziana," he greeted them, his tone neutral. "Welcome." Liam stepped forward, his posture confident but non-threatening. "Thank you, Admiral. We're here to talk peace." Vexus nodded, his eyes flicking to Marin. "And this is your diplomat." Marin inclined her head. "Yes, Admiral. I speak for the Resistance." The room was tense, the air thick with anticipation. Vexus gestured to a table set in the center of the room. "Let's sit. There is much to discuss." They took their seats, and the negotiations began. Marin outlined their proposal for a ceasefire, emphasizing the mutual benefits of peace. Ziana added her perspective, speaking of the shared suffering of both their peoples and the potential for a new alliance. Vexus listened, his expression inscrutable. When Marin finished, he leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "Your words are compelling. But trust is not easily earned, especially after so much bloodshed." Liam met his gaze, his voice steady. "We understand, Admiral. That's why we're here to build that trust, to find common ground." Before Vexus could respond, the doors to the chamber burst open, and a squad of Arkan soldiers stormed in, weapons drawn. At their head was Lieutenant Rena, her eyes blazing with anger. "Vexus, you can't be serious," she spat. "Negotiating with these humans? They're our enemies. Vexus stood, his expression hardening. Stand down, Rena. This is not your decision to make. Rena's eyes narrowed, her hand tightening on her weapon. You're a fool, Vexus. They'll betray us the first chance they get. The room erupted into chaos. Arkan soldiers raised their weapons, and the resistance fighters followed suit, the tension at a breaking point. Liam's heart pounded as he tried to defuse the situation. Rena, please, Ziana pleaded, stepping forward. We don't have to fight. We can find a way to coexist. Rena's gaze shifted to Ziana, betrayal etched into her features. You've changed, Ziana. You're not one of us anymore. Before anyone could react, Rena fired her weapon, the shot echoing through the chamber. Ziana cried out and fell to the ground, clutching her side. Chaos erupted as both sides opened fire, the room descending into a whirlwind of violence. Liam dove for cover, his mind racing. They couldn't let this opportunity slip away. He fired back, trying to protect Marin and the wounded Ziana. Vexus barked orders, his voice lost in the cacophony. Through the haze of battle, Liam saw Rena advancing, her weapon trained on Ziana. Desperation fueled his movements as he lunged forward, tackling Rena to the ground. They grappled, the struggle fierce and primal. Rena's eyes blazed with hatred. You'll never win, human. Liam's grip tightened on her wrist, forcing her weapon away. We don't have to be enemies, he ground out, his voice strained. Rena snarled, breaking free and aiming her weapon at Liam's head. Before she could fire, a shot rang out, and she fell, clutching her shoulder. Ziana, despite her injury, had managed to fire a desperate shot. Enough, Vexus roared, his voice cutting through the chaos. Stand down, all of you. The fighting ceased, the room falling into a stunned silence. Liam, breathing heavily, pushed himself to his feet. Rena lay on the ground, her eyes filled with a mix of pain and defiance. Vexus stepped forward, his gaze hard and unforgiving. Lieutenant Rena, you have disobeyed a direct order. You are relieved of duty. Rena's expression twisted with rage. You're making a mistake, Vexus. They'll betray us. Vexus ignored her, turning to Liam and Ziana. This is not how I wanted things to go, but the negotiations will continue. I will see to that personally. Liam nodded, gratitude and determination in his eyes. Thank you, Admiral. We won't waste this chance. Marin stepped forward, her voice calm and authoritative. Let's get back to the table. There is still much to discuss. The negotiations resumed, the atmosphere tense but hopeful. They worked late into the night, hammering out the details of a potential ceasefire. Despite the interruption, progress was made, and a tentative agreement began to take shape. As dawn broke, the two sides parted with a promise to meet again. The journey back to the camp was filled with a cautious optimism. Liam and Ziana, despite their injuries, walked side by side, their bond stronger than ever. Back at the camp, the news of the progress in negotiations spread quickly. There was a palpable sense of hope, a belief that peace might be within reach. The fighters redoubled their efforts, preparing for the future with renewed determination. In the days that followed, the resistance continued to build on the momentum of the negotiations. They fortified their defenses, trained tirelessly, and remained vigilant. The threat of further attacks from Arkan hardliners loomed, but they faced it with unwavering resolve. Liam and Ziana, their bond a symbol of the fragile hope for peace, worked tirelessly to unite their people. They knew the road ahead was long and fraught with challenges, but they faced it together, their hearts and minds united in the fight for a better future. As they stood together on the rocky outcrop, looking out over the valley, the stars above seemed brighter, the future less daunting. They knew their journey was far from over, but they faced it with courage and hope. We'll find a way, Liam said softly, his hand finding hers. Ziana squeezed his hand, her smile filled with determination. Together. And so, in the heart of the wilderness, a new chapter began. Liam and Ziana, united by their shared vision of peace and hope, faced the challenges ahead with strength and resilience. The fight for peace was far from over, but they were ready, their bond a beacon of light in the darkness. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, they knew their journey was just beginning. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but they would walk it together, their hearts and minds united in the fight for a better future. The tension in the camp was palpable as news of the negotiations spread. While hope had taken root, it was tempered by the knowledge that any misstep could reignite the conflict. Liam Anderson moved through the camp, his mind racing with plans and contingencies. The fragile truce had bought them time, but the path to lasting peace was still fraught with peril. The morning light filtered through the canopy, casting a dappled glow over the camp. Liam found Ziana by the stream, her expression thoughtful as she gazed at the water. Despite her injuries, she had refused to rest, her determination mirroring his own. "Ziana," he called softly, approaching her. "How are you feeling?" She looked up, a small smile playing on her lips. "I'm healing. But there's something else on my mind." Liam raised an eyebrow, concern etched on his face. "What is it?" Ziana took a deep breath. "I've been receiving reports of a virus spreading among both our people. It's highly contagious and deadly. If we don't find a way to stop it, it could wipe us all out." Liam's heart sank. "A virus? How long have you known?" "Not long," she admitted. "I wanted to be sure before raising the alarm. But the reports are coming in fast. We need to act quickly." Liam nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "We need to find a cure and distribute it, but that will require resources and cooperation from both sides." Ziana's eyes met his, her expression determined. "We'll need to negotiate with the Arkan High Command again. They have advanced medical technology that could help us. But we'll also need the trust and cooperation of the Resistance." Liam placed a hand on her shoulder. "We'll make it happen. Together." The camp mobilized quickly. Messages were sent to the Arkan High Command, requesting an urgent meeting to discuss the viral threat. Marin, Liam, and Ziana prepared for the negotiations, their faces set with determination. The meeting took place in a neutral zone, a small clearing in the forest where both sides could approach without fear of ambush. Admiral Vexus and a team of Arkan medics arrived first, their expressions a mix of concern and curiosity. Liam, Ziana, and Marin approached cautiously, their hands raised in a gesture of peace. Vexus nodded in acknowledgement, his gaze shifting to Ziana. "Commander Ziana, it seems our troubles are far from over." Ziana inclined her head. "Admiral, we have a common enemy now. This virus threatens us all." Vexus gestured to the medics, who stepped forward with scanning equipment. "We've detected the virus in several locations. It spreads quickly and has a high mortality rate. We need to work together to find a cure." Marin spoke up, her voice calm and authoritative. "We're prepared to share our resources and knowledge, but we'll need access to your medical technology and expertise." Vexus considered this for a moment, then nodded. "Agreed. We'll set up a joint task force. Time is of the essence." With the agreement in place, both sides returned to their respective camps to begin the collaborative effort. The Resistance and the Arkan Empire, once bitter enemies, now found themselves united by a common goal: survival. The task force was established in a temporary facility near the neutral zone. Scientists and medics from both sides worked side by side, their differences set aside in the face of the looming threat. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful, a delicate balance of cooperation and mutual respect. Liam and Ziana spent long hours coordinating efforts, their presence a steadying influence on their people. They moved between the makeshift labs, offering support and encouragement, their bond a symbol of the fragile hope for peace. One evening, as the task force worked late into the night, a breakthrough was announced. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, working alongside Arkan medic Dr. Kale, had identified the virus's genetic structure. They gathered the leaders and scientists, their excitement palpable. "We've isolated the virus," Sarah said, her eyes shining with determination. "It's a complex pathogen, but we believe we can develop a cure. It will take time, but we're on the right track." Dr. Kale nodded in agreement. "We'll need to synthesize the cure and then test it. Once we're sure it's effective, we can begin mass production." Liam felt a surge of hope. "How long will it take?" Sarah exchanged a glance with Dr. Kale. "A few weeks, if everything goes smoothly. But we'll need to start preparing for distribution immediately." Vexus stepped forward, his expression serious. "We'll provide the necessary resources, but we must also consider the possibility of sabotage. There are factions on both sides who might try to disrupt our efforts." Ziana nodded, her eyes narrowing. "We'll need to increase security and remain vigilant. We can't afford any setbacks. The task force redoubled their efforts, working around the clock to develop the cure. Security was tightened, with patrols and surveillance ensuring that no unauthorized personnel could approach the facility. The cooperation between the Resistance and the Arkan Empire was tenuous, but it held, driven by the shared goal of survival. As the days passed, progress was made. The cure was synthesized, and initial tests showed promising results. Spirits were high, but the looming threat of sabotage kept everyone on edge. One night, as Liam and Ziana conducted a routine inspection of the facility, they heard a commotion near the entrance. Rushing to investigate, they found a group of Resistance fighters and Arkan soldiers confronting a figure attempting to breach the perimeter. It was Rax, a notorious leader of the Purification Front, a faction dedicated to eliminating any chance of cooperation between humans and Arkan. His face was twisted with fury, his eyes burning with fanaticism. "You think you can save yourselves with this pathetic alliance?" Rax spat, his voice filled with venom. "You're fools. The only way to survive is to eradicate the enemy." Liam stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Rax, you're wrong. We can find a way to coexist. This virus threatens us all." Rax sneered. "Coexistence is a lie. You'll all die, and the Purification Front will rise from the ashes." Before anyone could react, Rax lunged, a small device in his hand. Ziana moved with lightning speed, tackling him to the ground. The device clattered away, its ominous beeping silenced as one of the Arkan soldiers disabled it. Rax struggled, his eyes wild. "You're making a mistake, Ziana. They'll never accept you." She tightened her grip, her voice cold. "We're building a future, Rax. One without hatred and fear." The guards restrained Rax, and Liam looked at Ziana with a mixture of admiration and relief. "Thank you. That could have been disastrous." She nodded, her expression resolute. "We can't let people like him destroy what we're trying to build." With the threat of sabotage ever present, the task force continued their work with heightened vigilance. The cure was perfected, and plans for mass production were put into motion. Distribution centers were established, and teams were assembled to ensure the cure reached every corner of the affected areas. The day the first batch of the cure was ready for distribution was a moment of triumph. Liam, Ziana, Maran, and Vexus stood together, watching as the vials were loaded onto transports. It was a symbol of their shared determination and hope for the future. As the transports rolled out, carrying the precious cargo, Liam felt a sense of profound relief. They had overcome immense challenges, and while the road ahead was still uncertain, they had taken a significant step toward peace. In the weeks that followed, the cure was distributed far and wide. The virus's spread was halted, and the affected began to recover. The cooperation between the Resistance and the Arkan Empire deepened, their efforts forging bonds that transcended old enmities. Liam and Ziana, their partnership a beacon of hope, continued to work tirelessly. They led joint missions, negotiated further terms of cooperation, and addressed the concerns of their people. The path to peace was long and difficult, but they faced it with unwavering resolve. One evening, as they stood together on the rocky outcrop overlooking the valley, the stars shining brightly above, Liam felt a sense of optimism. They had come so far, and while challenges remained, they had proven that unity was possible. "We did it," he said softly, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Ziana smiled, her hand finding his. "Yes, we did, and we'll keep fighting for this future together." As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, they knew their journey was far from over. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but they would walk it together, their hearts and minds united in the fight for a better future. In the heart of the wilderness, a new chapter had begun. The fight against the viral threat had brought them closer, forging bonds that could withstand the tests of time. Liam and Ziana, united by their shared vision of peace and hope, faced the challenges ahead with strength and resilience. The fight for peace was far from over, but they were ready, their bond a beacon of light in the darkness. As the dawn broke, casting its golden light over the valley, they stood together, ready to face whatever the future held. Their journey was just beginning, but they were determined to see it through, together. The air was crisp and cool as dawn broke over the valley, casting long shadows over the Resistance camp. The sense of relief from the successful distribution of the cure was palpable, but the threat of the Purification Front, led by the fanatical Rax, loomed large. Liam Anderson knew they had to strike decisively to prevent further sabotage and solidify the fragile peace they were building with the Arkan Empire. The camp was a hive of activity as fighters prepared for the upcoming battle. Weapons were checked and rechecked, supplies were packed, and final strategies were discussed. The alliance between humans and Arkan had grown stronger, but it would be tested in the fires of conflict once more. Liam and Ziana stood together at the center of the camp, their expressions resolute. They had faced many challenges, but this battle felt like the turning point. If they could defeat the Purification Front, they could pave the way for lasting peace. Ziana's silver eyes met Liam's, her determination evident. Rax won't stop until he's destroyed everything we've built. We need to end this once and for all. Liam nodded, his grip on his rifle tightening. We will. We have to. The plan was set into motion at first light. A joint force of resistance fighters and Arkan soldiers moved through the forest, their steps silent and coordinated. Scouts had identified the Purification Front's stronghold, a fortified base hidden deep in the wilderness. It was a daunting target, but their combined strength gave them confidence. As they approached the stronghold, the forest grew denser, the trees pressing in like silent sentinels. The air was thick with tension, each step bringing them closer to the inevitable confrontation. Liam signaled for a halt, and the leaders gathered to review the final details. Marcus, his expression grim but focused, laid out the plan. We'll split into 3 teams. Team A will create a diversion at the main gate, drawing their forces out. Team B will take the left flank, securing the perimeter and preventing reinforcements. Team C, led by Liam and Ziana, will infiltrate the base and take down Rax. The leaders nodded, their faces set with determination. Murren, who had proven herself invaluable as a diplomat, would coordinate communication between the teams, ensuring they moved as one cohesive unit. Liam looked at his team, a mix of seasoned fighters and Arkan soldiers, their expressions reflecting a shared sense of purpose. We move quickly and efficiently, stay focused, and watch each other's backs. We're stronger together. With that, they moved into position. The tension was palpable, every rustle of leaves and crack of twigs magnified in the stillness. Liam's heart pounded in his chest, his senses heightened as they approached the stronghold's perimeter. Team A launched the diversion with precision. Explosions rocked the main gate, sending plumes of smoke and fire into the sky. Alarms blared, and the Purification Front's forces scrambled to respond, leaving their positions vulnerable. Team B moved swiftly, securing the left flank and cutting off potential reinforcements. The sounds of battle echoed through the forest, a chaotic symphony of gunfire and shouts. Liam led Team C through a hidden passage, a narrow tunnel that led directly into the heart of the stronghold. Ziana moved beside him, her presence a steadying force. The tunnel was dark and damp, the air heavy with the scent of earth and decay. They emerged into a dimly lit corridor, the sounds of the battle outside muffled but still audible. Liam signaled for silence, and they moved with practiced stealth, their steps barely making a sound on the cold stone floor. As they approached the central chamber, the tension grew. They knew Rax would be heavily guarded, and the final confrontation would be brutal. Liam's mind raced with strategies and contingencies, every detail critical. They reached the chamber door, a heavy metal barrier that stood between them and their target. Liam motioned for 2 of the Arkan soldiers to plant charges, their movements precise and efficient. The charges were set, and they retreated to a safe distance. The explosion was deafening, the door blasted off its hinges and crashing to the floor. Liam and Ziana led the charge, their weapons at the ready. The chamber was a large, open space, filled with the Purification Front's fighters. At the far end stood Rax, his face twisted with rage. "End this," Liam shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. The battle was fierce and unrelenting. Gunfire and energy blasts filled the air, the room a whirlwind of movement and sound. Liam fought with a desperate intensity, his focus unwavering. Ziana moved beside him, her skill and precision a testament to her warrior spirit. They pushed forward, cutting through the enemy ranks with relentless determination. The fighters from both sides fought with everything they had, their resolve tested in the heat of battle. Despite the overwhelming odds, the unity of the joint force began to turn the tide. Liam's eyes locked onto Rax, who stood defiantly at the center of the chaos. The leader of the Purification Front was a formidable opponent, his movements calculated and deadly. Liam knew this confrontation would determine the fate of their fragile peace. With a burst of speed, Liam closed the distance between them, his rifle aimed at Rax's heart. Rax reacted quickly, deflecting the shot with a swipe of his weapon and countering with a powerful strike. Liam dodged, the impact sending a shockwave through the chamber. The two leaders clashed with ferocity, their movements a blur of attacks and counters. The noise of the battle faded into the background, their focus solely on each other. Rax's eyes burned with fanaticism, his every strike fueled by hatred and fear. "You're a fool," Anderson Rax spat, his voice filled with venom. "You think you can save them? You're weak." Liam's grip tightened on his weapon, his voice steady. "I'm fighting for a future, Rax. One without fear and hatred." Rax's face twisted with rage, and he launched a brutal assault, his strikes relentless. Liam parried and countered, his movements driven by determination and resolve. He knew he couldn't falter, too much was at stake. As they fought, Ziana and the other fighters held the line, preventing reinforcements from reaching Rax. The room was filled with the sounds of combat, the clash of weapons, and the shouts of defiance. Liam saw an opening and seized it, driving Rax back with a series of powerful strikes. He pressed forward, his every movement calculated and precise. Rax staggered, his defense faltering. With a final, decisive blow, Liam disarmed Rax, sending his weapon clattering to the floor. He aimed his rifle at Rax's chest, his finger on the trigger. "It's over, Rax." Rax glared at him, his eyes filled with hatred. "You'll never win. The Purification Front will rise again." Liam's voice was cold and resolute. "Not today." He fired, the shot ringing out and striking Rax in the chest. The leader of the Purification Front fell to the ground, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. The chamber fell silent, the sounds of battle fading away. Liam lowered his rifle, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The fighters from both sides stood in stunned silence, the reality of their victory slowly sinking in. Ziana moved to Liam's side, her expression a mix of relief and exhaustion. "We did it," she said softly, her voice filled with a sense of awe. Liam nodded, his eyes meeting hers. "Yes, we did. Together." The aftermath of the battle was a whirlwind of activity. The remaining Purification Front fighters were disarmed and taken into custody, their resistance broken. The stronghold was secured, and the joint force began the process of dismantling the enemy's operations. Liam and Ziana worked tirelessly to ensure the success of the mission. They coordinated with Marin and Vexus, their efforts focused on solidifying the alliance and preventing any further threats. The victory had been hard-won, but it was a crucial step toward lasting peace. As the sun set over the valley, casting a warm glow over the camp, a sense of hope filled the air. The fighters gathered to celebrate their victory, their faces reflecting a mixture of relief and determination. They had faced immense challenges and emerged stronger, their unity a beacon of hope for the future. Liam and Ziana stood together on the rocky outcrop, looking out over the valley. The stars above seemed brighter, their light a reminder of the vast universe and the possibilities it held. "We've come so far," Liam said softly, his voice filled with pride and hope. Ziana smiled, her hand finding his. "And we'll keep moving forward. Together." As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, they knew their journey was far from over. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but they faced it with unwavering resolve. They had proven that unity was possible, and they were determined to build a future where humans and Arkan could coexist in peace. In the heart of the wilderness, a new chapter had begun. The victory against the Purification Front had brought them closer, forging bonds that could withstand the tests of time. Liam and Ziana, united by their shared vision of peace and hope, faced the challenges ahead with strength and resilience. The fight for peace was far from over, but they were ready, their bond a beacon of light in the darkness. As the dawn broke, casting its golden light over the valley, they stood together, ready to face whatever the future held. Their journey was just beginning, but they were determined to see it through, together. The victory against the Purification Front was a significant milestone, but Liam Anderson knew their journey was far from over. The fragile peace they had fought for was still in its infancy, and the threat of remnants from the Purification Front loomed large. Among them, the elusive leader Rax, who had escaped during the chaos of the final battle, was still at large, threatening their hard-earned progress. The camp was a flurry of activity as preparations were made to track down Rax. The resistance fighters, now seasoned veterans of countless battles, moved with a sense of purpose and urgency. The alliance with the Arkan Empire had grown stronger, their shared victories forging bonds of trust and camaraderie. Liam and Ziana stood together in the command tent, reviewing the latest intelligence reports. Rax had been sighted heading towards the rugged mountains to the north, a region known for its treacherous terrain and numerous hiding spots. "He won't stop," Ziana said, her voice filled with determination. "As long as he's out there, the threat to our peace remains." Liam nodded, his expression resolute. "We need to bring him to justice, for our people and for the future we're building." The pursuit began at dawn. A select team of elite fighters from both the Resistance and the Arkan Empire set out, their skills honed by years of conflict. The journey was arduous, the rugged landscape testing their endurance and resolve. The mountains loomed ahead, their peaks shrouded in mist, a formidable barrier between them and their quarry. As they climbed higher, the air grew colder and thinner, each breath a reminder of the harsh environment. The path was steep and rocky, forcing them to move slowly and carefully. Despite the challenges, their determination never wavered. Liam led the way, his eyes scanning the terrain for any sign of Rax's presence. Ziana moved beside him, her senses sharp and alert. The bond they had forged in battle was unbreakable, their trust in each other absolute. Days passed, each one blending into the next as they pressed on. The landscape changed from dense forests to barren rock, the air growing colder with each step. The nights were harsh, the wind howling through the mountains, but they found solace in each other's company, their shared purpose a beacon of hope. One evening, as they set up camp in a sheltered alcove, a scout returned with news. "We found tracks leading to a cave system up ahead. It matches the description of Rax's hideout." Liam's eyes narrowed with determination. "Good work. We'll move at first light." The anticipation was palpable as they prepared for the final confrontation. The cave system was a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers, a perfect hiding spot for someone like Rax. They knew the risks, but they were ready to face them. At dawn, they approached the entrance to the cave system. The air was heavy with anticipation, the silence broken only by the crunch of gravel underfoot. Liam and Ziana led the way, their weapons at the ready. The tunnels were dark and narrow, the air cold and damp. Their footsteps echoed off the stone walls, each step bringing them closer to their target. They moved with caution, every sense alert to potential traps and ambushes. As they ventured deeper into the cave, the tension grew. The narrow passages opened into larger chambers, each one more treacherous than the last. The flickering light of their torches cast eerie shadows on the walls, creating an atmosphere of foreboding. Suddenly, a figure darted from the shadows, weapon drawn. Liam reacted instinctively, his rifle aimed and ready. The figure froze, and as the light fell on his face, Liam recognized Rax. "End of the line," Rax, Liam said, his voice cold and steady. Rax's eyes blazed with fury. "You think you've won? This is just the beginning." Before Liam could respond, Rax fired his weapon, the shot echoing through the chamber. Chaos erupted as both sides opened fire, the cavern filled with the deafening sound of gunfire and energy blasts. Liam and Ziana fought with a desperate intensity, their movements precise and coordinated. The fighters from both sides clashed in a whirlwind of violence, the narrow confines of the cave amplifying the chaos. Rax moved with a brutal efficiency, his attacks driven by hatred and desperation. Liam matched him strike for strike, their duel a fierce and relentless struggle. The noise of the battle faded into the background, their focus solely on each other. "You're a fanatic," Rax, Liam shouted, dodging a powerful strike. "You're destroying everything we've fought for." Rax's face twisted with rage. "You're naive, Anderson. There can be no peace between our kinds." Liam's resolve hardened. "You're wrong. We're building a future together, and there's no place for you in it." With a burst of speed, Liam closed the distance, his strikes relentless. Rax staggered, his defense faltering. Liam pressed his advantage, driving Rax back against the cavern wall. "Give up, Rax." "It's over," Liam said, his voice filled with finality. Rax glared at him, his eyes burning with defiance. "Never." Before Rax could react, Ziana moved in with lightning speed, disarming him with a swift and precise strike. Rax fell to the ground, his weapon clattering away. Liam aimed his rifle at Rax's chest, his finger on the trigger. "This is for all the lives you've destroyed." Rax sneered, his voice filled with venom. "You'll never win. The Purification Front will rise again." Liam's grip tightened, but before he could fire, Ziana placed a hand on his arm. "Liam, don't. We need to bring him to justice, not kill him in cold blood." Liam hesitated, the rage in his eyes slowly giving way to reason. He nodded, lowering his weapon. "You're right. He'll answer for his crimes." They restrained Rax, ensuring he couldn't escape. The battle was over, but the war for peace was still ongoing. They emerged from the cave, the cold mountain air a stark contrast to the tense atmosphere inside. The journey back to the camp was filled with a sense of accomplishment and relief. They had captured Rax, but they knew the road ahead was still fraught with challenges. The alliance between the Resistance and the Arkan Empire had been strengthened, but it needed constant nurturing to withstand the tests of time. As they approached the camp, they were greeted with cheers and applause. The fighters, both human and Arkan, celebrated their victory, their faces filled with hope and determination. The sense of unity was palpable, a testament to their shared resolve. Liam and Ziana stood before the gathered crowd, their expressions reflecting a mixture of pride and humility. Moran stepped forward, her voice carrying over the crowd. "Today we have taken a significant step towards peace. But our journey is far from over. We must continue to work together, to build a future where our people can coexist in harmony." The crowd cheered, their voices filled with resolve. The sense of unity and purpose was stronger than ever, their shared vision of a better future driving them forward. In the days that followed, the alliance continued to strengthen. They worked together to rebuild, to heal the wounds of war, and to create a foundation for lasting peace. The threat of the Purification Front had been diminished, but vigilance remained essential. Liam and Ziana, their bond a symbol of the alliance, continued to lead with determination and hope. They faced each challenge with unwavering resolve, their partnership a beacon of light in the darkness. One evening, as they stood together on the rocky outcrop overlooking the valley, the stars shining brightly above, Liam felt a sense of optimism. They had come so far, and while challenges remained, they had proven that unity was possible. "We did it," he said softly, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Ziana smiled, her hand finding his. "Yes, we did, and we'll keep fighting for this future, together." As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, they knew their journey was far from over. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but they would walk it together, their hearts and minds united in the fight for a better future. In the heart of the wilderness, a new chapter had begun. The capture of Rax had brought them closer, forging bonds that could withstand the tests of time. Liam and Ziana, united by their shared vision of peace and hope, faced the challenges ahead with strength and resilience. The fight for peace was far from over, but they were ready, their bond a beacon of light in the darkness. As the dawn broke, casting its golden light over the valley, they stood together, ready to face whatever the future held. Their journey was just beginning, but they were determined to see it through, together.